She picked up a stranger's dropped wallet and returned it, not knowing he was a CEO who would thank. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into the story. The next day, Emma sat in the small, cozy diner where she worked, a cup of coffee in her hands, staring out the window. The morning rush had passed, and the place was quiet now, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional clink of silverware. Her mind kept drifting back to the night before. The mistake she made, sitting at the wrong table, had felt like the most embarrassing moment of her life. She could still feel the heat of her cheeks as she bolted out of that fancy restaurant, running as fast as her worn shoes would carry her. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just stay and apologize properly? She thought, her fingers tapping nervously on the edge of her coffee cup. She'd tried to forget about it, but it was impossible. Something about that man, Kevin No, not Kevin. He wasn't Kevin lingered in her mind. She didn't know what it was. Maybe it was the way he listened so intently, or how his polite smile didn't make her feel out of place, even though she was so clearly out of her element. He didn't care that she was a waitress. He didn't care that her shoes were scuffed or that her dress was secondhand. He just listened. It had been a while since anyone had done that. She sighed, glancing at the clock on the wall. It was almost time for her shift to start. She couldn't afford to be lost in thought today. She had bills to pay. But still, she couldn't shake the image of him from her mind. It was as if he was still sitting there at that table, waiting for her to come back. Just then, her phone buzzed. She picked it up, expecting to see another text from Jenny, but instead, it was an unknown number. Curiosity piqued, she tapped the message open. Hello Emma. I hope you remember me from last night. I'm Liam Parker. I was the man you sat next to at the restaurant. I was wondering if you'd be interested in meeting again. No pressure, just a coffee or something. Let me know. She blinked. Liam Parker. The name didn't ring any bells. It didn't sound familiar. Wait. She thought, her heart suddenly racing. Liam. I thought his name was Kevin. Wait, was he? No way, he can't be. He seemed too normal. Too. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. It didn't matter. It was just a mistake. Just a mistake. She whispered under her breath. But still, the message had caught her attention. Maybe it was just for closure. Maybe he wanted to tell her not to worry about what happened. With a deep breath, she typed back. Hi, Liam. Yes, I remember you. I'm sorry again for the mix-up. I was so embarrassed. Coffee sounds nice, though. When? She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Emma sat back in her seat, her stomach doing flips. She hadn't expected him to reach out, and now she wasn't sure if it was a good idea to meet again. She wasn't sure what this was. Was he just being polite? Was he really interested in her? Or was this some kind of joke? The diner door opened, and a few customers walked in. Emma quickly put her phone away, trying to push her thoughts to the back of her mind. As she went about her shift, she couldn't help but keep glancing at her phone, waiting for a reply. When the phone finally buzzed again, her heart skipped a beat. She opened the message quickly, almost too quickly. How about tomorrow afternoon? I'll be at that cafe you like on the corner of Main and 5th, 2 p.m. Hope to see you there. The message was simple, straightforward, and left no room for confusion. Emma stared at the screen for a long time, her thoughts swirling. What is this? Why am I so nervous? She asked herself. Finally, she typed her response. Sounds good. See you tomorrow. After sending the message, Emma put her phone down, her heart racing. It was just coffee, right? Just coffee. But there was a part of her that couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just any ordinary coffee meeting. This was something bigger. Maybe it was just the way Liam made her feel, or maybe it was the mysteriousness of who he really was. She couldn't help but feel that her life was about to change, in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The next afternoon, Emma found herself standing in front of the cafe, hands trembling slightly as she adjusted her bag. The cafe was small and cozy, just as she remembered. She had always loved coming here on her days off. It felt like a small slice of peace in the middle of the chaos that was her life. She took a deep breath, pushing open the door. The bell above the door jingled softly as she entered, and she immediately spotted Liam sitting at a corner table, a coffee cup in front of him. He stood up when he saw her, a warm smile spreading across his face. Asterisk, Emma. It's good to see you again. Asterisk, he said, his voice smooth but warm. She smiled back, feeling an unexpected flutter in her chest. Asterisk, hi Liam. It's good to see you too. Asterisk, she replied, her voice slightly shaky. She sat down across from him, unsure of how to start. They both ordered coffee, and for a moment there was an awkward silence between them. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This time, there was a sense of curiosity, of wondering what was really happening here. Asterisk, so how's your day been? Asterisk, Liam asked, breaking the silence. Emma smiled, feeling a bit more at ease. Asterisk, busy, like always. Just working, you know. Asterisk, she replied. The conversation flowed easily from there. They talked about everything and nothing her work, his, and everything in between. But the more they talked, the more Emma began to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt seen. She felt heard. And for the first time in ages, she wasn't just the waitress. She was Emma. Just Emma. And that was more than enough. The days following Emma's meeting with Liam felt like a whirlwind. At first, it was just the excitement of a new friendship, the kind of casual connection she hadn't expected but was beginning to enjoy. Their coffee dates became regular, and with each meeting, she found herself opening up more. She had never met someone like him before, someone who listened so intently, who seemed to care about what she had to say, who didn't see her as just a waitress, but as a person with dreams, struggles, and a story of her own. As they spent more time together, Emma couldn't help but feel that something was changing inside of her. She had always been so focused on surviving, on getting through each day without completely breaking down under the weight of her responsibilities. But with Liam, she started to wonder what it would be like to dream again, to believe that something bigger and better could be waiting for her in the future. A week after their first real conversation, Emma found herself at a charity gala, something she never would have imagined attending, let alone being invited to. Liam had casually mentioned that he would be attending an event, and then, to her surprise, he invited her to join him. "It'll be fun, Emma. Just a casual night out." "Don't worry, no pressure," he said, his voice warm and inviting. Asterisk, I don't belong at a gala. Asterisk, Emma had protested. Asterisk, I'm just a waitress. I wouldn't know what to wear, what to do. Asterisk. But Liam had smiled and insisted. Asterisk. It's not about what you wear or what you do. It's about enjoying yourself and being with good company. Asterisk. So here she was, standing in front of a grand ballroom in a dress she'd bought on sale at the local boutique, feeling a little out of place but also excited. The lights inside the ballroom sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars, and the laughter of the guests created a hum of lively energy. Emma stepped inside with Liam, trying to ignore the butterflies in her stomach. She was nervous, not just because of the high society atmosphere, but because she still wasn't sure exactly where this was going. Asterisk, what is this really? Asterisk, she wondered. Asterisk. Is this just a kindness he's showing, or is there something more? Asterisk, Liam seemed completely at ease, his presence commanding attention without being arrogant. He introduced her to a few people, all of whom seemed to greet him with admiration, and as the night went on, she began to feel more comfortable. People were kind, polite, and genuine, and for the first time in ages, Emma felt like she was part of something. At some point during the evening, Liam stepped away for a moment to speak with someone from his company, leaving Emma standing by herself. She found herself looking around the room, taking in the beauty of the surroundings, the elegantly dressed people, and the feeling of being so far removed from her own life. Just as she was about to retreat into herself, trying to hide her unease, a voice pulled her from her thoughts. Asterisk, you look out of place. Asterisk, a man's voice said with a playful tone. Emma turned around and found herself face to face with a man in a tuxedo, his eyes glimmering with amusement. Asterisk? Excuse me? Asterisk, she asked, surprised by the bluntness of his comment. The man laughed lightly, holding up his hands in mock surrender. Asterisk, sorry, I didn't mean to offend. It's just that you look a little different from the others here. Asterisk, Emma felt her face flush with embarrassment, But the man's smile was warm, and he didn't seem to mean anything bad by it. Asterisk, I'm just trying to keep a low profile, asterisk, Emma said, laughing nervously. Asterisk, I don't really fit in at these kinds of events. Asterisk, asterisk. Well, maybe that's a good thing. Asterisk, the man said, stepping a little closer. Asterisk, you're more interesting because of it. What's your story? Asterisk, Emma hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. She didn't want to talk about her job, about struggling to make ends meet. But there was something about this man's easy demeanor that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, it was okay to share a little. Asterisk, I'm just a girl from the city. Asterisk, she said, her voice softer now. Asterisk, I work as a waitress. Life's not exactly glamorous, but it's enough to get by. Asterisk. The man raised an eyebrow. Asterisk, a waitress? And yet here you are, at a gala full of millionaires and CEOs. Asterisk, Emma laughed, feeling a bit awkward but also strangely proud of how far she had come. Asterisk, I don't know how I got here, really. Asterisk, she admitted. Asterisk, Liam invited me. He's been really kind to me. Asterisk. The man nodded, his smile widening. Asterisk, Liam Parker? The tech CEO? Asterisk. Emma was startled. Asterisk. Wait, you know him? Asterisk, she asked. Asterisk. Everyone knows him. Asterisk. The man replied with a shrug. Asterisk. But I didn't realize he was bringing someone like you to one of these things. He must really like you. Asterisk, Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had no idea what he meant by that, but the way he said it made her feel both self-conscious and excited at the same time. Asterisk, Liam is great, asterisk, Emma said quietly, looking around the room for him. Asterisk. He's just been really supportive, more than anyone else has ever been. Asterisk. The man nodded knowingly. Asterisk. He's got that effect on people. You know, if you're not careful, he might just end up changing your life. Asterisk. At that moment, Liam returned, his smile warm as he walked toward Emma. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder, and the connection between them felt real. Like something more than just a casual invitation. Emma couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, the night was turning into something more than she ever expected. The evening at the gala continued to unfold around Emma like a dream, but with each passing moment, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease creeping in. Liam had been by her side most of the night, introducing her to people and making her feel more comfortable, but there was still a nagging thought at the back of her mind. Asterisk. What is he really thinking? Why would he bring someone like me here? Asterisk, she wondered. Asterisk. Does he see me as a project? Or is this just some kind of charity to him? Asterisk. She tried to shake the thoughts away, but they lingered, like shadows in the back of her mind. It wasn't that Liam was doing anything wrong, quite the opposite, in fact. He was kind, attentive, and made her feel special. But there was something about being in this world, surrounded by people who lived lives so different from hers, that made her feel small, insignificant even. Just as she was about to step outside to get some fresh air and clear her mind, Liam reappeared, his gaze locking with hers across the room. Asterisk, everything okay? Asterisk, he asked gently, his voice laced with concern. Emma hesitated for a moment before smiling and nodding. Asterisk. Yeah, just needed a moment to myself, asterisk, she replied, feeling a bit embarrassed. Asterisk. It's a little overwhelming, you know. Asterisk, Liam smiled, his expression softening. Asterisk. I get it. It's a lot to take in. Asterisk. He paused, as if searching for the right words. Asterisk. You don't have to feel like you have to impress anyone. Just be yourself. Asterisk. Emma looked up at him, surprised by how genuine he sounded. Asterisk. I'm trying. Asterisk, she said quietly, looking down at her hands. Asterisk. But I don't know if I belong here. Asterisk. Liam took a step closer, his hand gently resting on her arm. Asterisk. You belong with me. Asterisk, he said, his voice low and reassuring. The words caught Emma off guard, her heart skipping a beat. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Instead, she simply nodded, her eyes meeting his for a brief but meaningful moment. The connection between them was undeniable. Liam didn't see her as just a waitress, as someone who didn't fit into the high society world. He saw her as Emma. Just Emma. And that realization hit her like a wave, washing away some of the doubts she had been carrying with her. As the evening progressed, Emma began to feel more at ease. She even found herself laughing with the guests, exchanging stories and enjoying the experience. Liam was right, she didn't need to prove anything. Just being herself was enough. But deep down, a question remained. Asterisk. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for us? Asterisk. Emma couldn't ignore it, no matter how much she tried. She had never been in a situation like this before. She had never been in a relationship that wasn't defined by struggle or by people who expected something from her. But Liam didn't seem to expect anything from her. He didn't want her to change, or to be anything other than what she already was. And that thought gave her a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. As the night drew to a close, Liam walked Emma to the exit, his hand brushing gently against hers. Asterisk. I'm glad you came tonight. Asterisk, he said, his voice sincere. Asterisk. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Asterisk. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Asterisk. I did. Asterisk, she replied, her voice softer now. Asterisk. Thank you for everything, Liam. This has been amazing. Asterisk. He smiled back, his eyes shining with something more than just kindness. Asterisk. I'm glad. Asterisk, he said, his gaze lingering on hers for a moment longer. Asterisk. I'm looking forward to our next adventure. Asterisk. Emma couldn't help but feel a flutter in her stomach. Asterisk. Next adventure. Asterisk, she repeated quietly. As she stepped outside into the cool night air, the realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She wasn't just caught up in a dream anymore. She was part of something real, something that could change her life in ways she never expected. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. She didn't know where this would lead, but she was willing to find out. As she walked away from the gala, a soft smile tugged at the corners of her lips. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for sure: her life was about to change. And maybe, just maybe, it was for the better. Over the next few weeks, Emma found herself meeting Liam more and more. What had started as casual coffee dates began to feel like something deeper, something she hadn't anticipated but now couldn't imagine her life without. She had always been so focused on survival, on getting by, on simply making it through each day. But with Liam, things were different. He made her believe in more than just the next paycheck, more than just getting through the grind of life. He made her feel like maybe she could actually have the life she'd always dreamed of, one where she wasn't just working to survive, but living for something greater. As their relationship grew, so did Emma's realization that Liam wasn't just any man, he was different. He wasn't like the others she had met in her life, the ones who saw her as just a waitress or someone to pity. Liam saw her, really saw her. He understood her struggles, but he didn't look down on her for them. Instead, he encouraged her, believed in her, and made her feel like she could do anything. It was more than just kindness. It was respect. Emma had never felt that way before. She had always been the one who had to keep fighting for respect, who had to work twice as hard just to be seen as equal. But Liam made it feel effortless. It was the first time in her life that someone had offered her something more than what she had earned. Liam was generous, not just with his wealth, but with his time, his attention, and most of all, his trust. He invited her to more events, showed her parts of his world she had never even imagined, and with each new experience, Emma found herself becoming more comfortable in her own skin. But with that comfort came a nagging question that Emma couldn't quite shake. Asterisk. What does he really want from me? What if this is all just some kind of charity? What if I'm not enough for him? Asterisk. She knew it wasn't logical, but the fear still lingered. Liam was everything she wasn't: wealthy, successful, and powerful. And although he treated her like an equal, part of her couldn't help but wonder if he was simply being kind out of a sense of duty, or if it was something deeper. She never asked him, of course. She didn't want to appear insecure or ungrateful. But the question haunted her, especially on the nights when he would disappear into his work, leaving her alone with her thoughts. One evening, while they were out walking through the park after a dinner with Liam's business partners, Emma couldn't hold it in anymore. She had to know. She turned to him, her voice shaky. Asterisk. Liam, why are you doing all of this for me? You've been so kind, so generous. I don't know if I deserve it. Asterisk. Liam stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression unreadable. For a moment there was silence between them, the only sound the soft rustling of the trees in the breeze. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. Asterisk. I don't want to mess this up, but I need to know. Why me? Asterisk. Liam smiled gently, reaching out to take her hand in his. Asterisk. Emma. You don't have to deserve anything. You've already given me something I never expected. You've made me believe in things again, in ways I thought I'd lost. I don't want to be with you because I feel sorry for you, or because I think you owe me something. I want to be with you because I see you for who you are, and that's more than enough. His words took Emma's breath away, and for a moment she couldn't speak. But you're so different from me. She finally whispered, her voice barely audible. I'm just a waitress, and you're everything I'm not. Liam chuckled softly, pulling her closer. That's where you're wrong, Emma. You're not just a waitress. You're someone who makes the world better just by being in it. I see that in you every day. The warmth of his touch and the sincerity in his eyes made Emma's doubts start to fade away. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt like she belonged, like she was worth something just as she was. They stood there in the quiet park, the city lights twinkling in the distance, and in that moment, Emma knew that whatever happened next, she wasn't alone anymore. She had someone who truly cared, who saw her for who she was, not for what she had or didn't have. Liam squeezed her hand gently. Don't ever doubt yourself, Emma. I'm here because I want to be, not because I feel obligated. I care about you. Emma smiled, her heart full, and for the first time in a long time she believed him. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she was ready to face it with him by her side. As the days passed, Emma found herself in a whirlwind of emotions. The conversation with Liam had changed something inside her, but a part of her still couldn't fully believe it. Maybe it's too good to be true. She thought as she sat at her small apartment window, looking out at the city. She had always been the one who had to work for everything she had, and she wasn't used to this kind of generosity, this kind of kindness that seemed to come so effortlessly from Liam. It made her nervous, made her question what he really saw in her. Still, she couldn't help but smile every time she thought about him. His words lingered in her mind. You're someone who makes the world better just by being in it. She had never thought of herself that way. To her, she was just Emma, a girl trying to make ends meet, doing the best she could. But Liam, he made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she was worth more than she ever gave herself credit for. The next weekend, Liam invited her to a small get-together at his place. It wasn't a big event, just a few close friends and business associates. It's going to be casual, he said, his voice warm and reassuring. I'd love for you to come. Emma wasn't sure if she was ready for another high society gathering, but something about his invitation made her feel at ease. She trusted him, and so she agreed. That evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror, carefully adjusting the dress she had borrowed from a friend. It wasn't as fancy as the one she wore at the gala, but it would do. I'm not like them. She reminded herself. But I don't need to be. She had a habit of second-guessing herself, but tonight she decided she was going to be confident. She was going to be herself. When she arrived at Liam's apartment, she was greeted by a soft, welcoming smile. Liam opened the door and immediately took her hand. I'm glad you came, he said, pulling her inside. The apartment was warm, with soft lighting and the faint smell of candles burning in the background. It wasn't as grand as she had imagined, but it was cozy, comfortable. It felt like home. The guests were friendly, and although Emma still felt a little out of place, she didn't feel the overwhelming sense of insecurity she had felt at the gala. Liam stayed close, introducing her to everyone and making sure she felt included. The evening was light-hearted, filled with laughter and good conversation, and Emma found herself relaxing more as the night went on. But there was one moment, just one, that stood out to her more than any other. It was when Liam stepped away to speak with a colleague, and she found herself alone in the corner, sipping her drink. For the first time, she allowed herself to look around the room and really see the people there, the businessmen, the socialites, the people who seemed to have everything in the world. And for a moment, she felt a pang of insecurity. What am I doing here? She thought, her grip tightening on her glass. But just as the doubt started to creep in, she felt a hand gently touch her shoulder. She turned to see Liam standing beside her, his eyes full of warmth. You okay? He asked, his voice low. Emma smiled, a little embarrassed. Yeah, just, I don't know if I belong here. Liam shook his head, his expression serious but understanding. You belong here because you're you. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Asterisk. He smiled then. His eyes filled with something deeper. Asterisk. And I wouldn't want anyone else here but you. Asterisk. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know what to say, so she just smiled back, her hand reaching for his. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of laughter, conversation, and quiet moments shared with Liam. She realized then that it wasn't about fitting in with anyone else. It was about being herself. And with Liam by her side, she didn't need to be anything else. As they walked out of the building, Liam turned to her, his hand brushing against hers. Asterisk. Thank you for coming tonight, asterisk, he said, his voice sincere. Asterisk. It means a lot to me. Asterisk. Emma felt her heart swell with emotion. Asterisk. I'm glad I came. Asterisk, she replied, her voice soft. Asterisk. I think I'm starting to understand what you meant. Asterisk. Liam looked at her, his expression filled with affection. Asterisk. What do you mean? Asterisk, he asked, stopping for a moment on the sidewalk. Asterisk. I think I'm starting to understand what it means to belong. Not because of who I am or what I have, but because of who I'm with. Asterisk. Liam smiled, pulling her into a gentle embrace. Asterisk. I'm glad you're with me, Emma. Asterisk. In that moment, Emma felt like everything had come full circle. She had spent so many years doubting herself, feeling like she didn't deserve the things she wanted, the life she dreamed of. But now, standing here with Liam, she realized that maybe she did deserve it all. Maybe she wasn't just a waitress. Maybe she was someone who deserved love, happiness, and the chance to be more than just a survivalist. Maybe, just maybe, she had finally found a place where she truly belonged. As the weeks passed, Emma's life began to shift in ways she never imagined. Her relationship with Liam was growing stronger, and with each passing day, she found herself falling deeper for him. But with that deepening connection came a new sense of uncertainty, one that she hadn't expected. Asterisk. What if I'm not enough for him? Asterisk, she thought, especially when she saw the world he came from, a world so different from her own. It wasn't just the wealth, the grand events, or the fancy dinners, it was the way people treated him, the respect, the admiration. Emma had never been part of that world. She had always been on the outside, just trying to make it through each day. The thought of truly being a part of Liam's world made her nervous, made her question whether she could truly fit in. Despite the fear, she tried to push those doubts aside, especially when Liam was around. He always made her feel like she belonged, like she was worth more than just the circumstances she had been given. He never treated her like someone beneath him. He treated her like an equal, like she mattered. But there was a moment, a brief moment, when everything changed. It happened during a quiet dinner at Liam's apartment, just the two of them. They had been talking for hours, sharing stories and laughing, when suddenly, Liam grew quiet. Emma noticed it, the shift in his mood, and she felt a knot form in her stomach. She put down her wine glass and looked at him, concerned. Asterisk. Liam, what's wrong? Asterisk, she asked softly. Liam looked at her, his eyes clouded with something she couldn't quite place. Asterisk. There's something I need to tell you. Asterisk, he said, his voice steady but filled with an underlying tension. Emma's heart began to race. She could feel the weight of the moment, the uncertainty hanging between them. She had never seen him like this before. Asterisk. What is it? Asterisk, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, his gaze not leaving hers. Asterisk. I've been keeping something from you. Asterisk, he said, his words cutting through the air. Asterisk. I've been trying to figure out the best time to tell you, but I realize now that there's no right time. You deserve to know the truth. Asterisk. Emma's mind raced. Asterisk. The truth? What is he talking about? Asterisk, she wondered. Asterisk. Liam, what's going on? Asterisk, she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. Asterisk. The truth is, I'm not just a tech CEO. I'm also the owner of a company that is being investigated for a major financial scandal. I've been dealing with it in secret, and I didn't want to drag you into it. Asterisk. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The words felt like a punch to her stomach. She had no idea what to say, how to react. Asterisk. A scandal? Asterisk, she asked, her voice shaking. Liam nodded, his face tense. Asterisk. Yes, it's complicated, But I've been trying to clean up the mess. I didn't want you to be affected by it. I didn't want you to think that this," he gestured around the room, "was part of what I wanted for you." Emma's mind was spinning. She had never expected this. She had never imagined that Liam, the man who had made her feel so special, would have such a heavy secret, something that could potentially destroy everything they were building together. She took a step back, trying to process everything. I don't know what to say. She whispered. I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can be part of a world that's so messed up. Liam's expression softened, and he reached out to take her hand. Emma, I never wanted to pull you into my problems. He said, his voice filled with sincerity. I care about you more than anything, and I wanted to protect you from this. But now that you know, I need you to know that I'm doing everything I can to fix it. I'm not asking you to stay if this is too much for you. I just needed you to hear the truth. Emma stood there, her heart racing. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She loved Liam. She knew that much. But she also knew that this was a huge obstacle, one that she wasn't sure how to overcome. I don't know what to do, she admitted, tears welling up in her eyes. Liam looked at her with a mixture of regret and hope. You don't have to decide anything right now. Take your time. But please know that no matter what happens, I'm here for you. I want you in my life. Emma took a deep breath, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She loved him, but could she trust him after everything that had been hidden from her? Could she handle being part of a world filled with lies and scandal? The questions swirled in her mind, but one thing was clear: she couldn't make this decision alone. She needed time to think, time to figure out what her heart truly wanted. I need some space. She said quietly, her voice trembling. I need to think about everything you've told me. Liam nodded, understanding in his eyes. Take all the time you need, Emma. I'll be here when you're ready. As she left his apartment that night, Emma's heart was heavy, her mind clouded with doubt. She had never imagined that love could come with such complications, such uncertainty. But now, as she walked alone through the streets of the city, she knew one thing for sure: she had to find her own way forward, no matter what path she chose. And she wasn't sure where that path would lead. The following days after their conversation felt like an emotional roller coaster for Emma. She couldn't escape the thoughts swirling in her head. Liam's confession about the scandal in his company weighed heavily on her, and she found herself questioning everything. Is he truly a good person? Or is he just another man caught up in a web of lies? She wondered, pacing back and forth in her small apartment. The warmth she had felt from him, the way he made her feel special and valued, seemed overshadowed now by the dark cloud of the financial scandal that loomed over them both. Can I trust him? Can I trust what we have? The questions flooded her mind, and no matter how much she tried to focus on the good moments, the doubts kept creeping in. She spent hours replaying the night of the gala, trying to find some clue, some sign that Liam wasn't the man she thought he was. But all she could remember was his honesty, the kindness in his eyes, the way he had held her hand and assured her that everything would be okay. Maybe I'm overthinking this, she thought, sitting on her couch, staring blankly at the TV. Maybe I'm just scared of losing what feels so real. But then the guilt crept in. Was she letting her own insecurities get in the way of something good? She had spent so long doubting herself, feeling like she wasn't worthy of love, of someone who cared for her as much as Liam seemed to. But now, faced with the possibility of his hidden past, she wasn't sure where her feelings stood. She needed to clear her mind, to make a decision. After a sleepless night, Emma knew what she had to do. She couldn't keep running from the truth or letting fear control her. She had to face Liam and figure out what she wanted, not just for him but for herself. The next morning she texted him. Can we talk? The message was simple, but it felt like the hardest thing she had ever typed. Liam's reply came almost instantly. Of course. I'll be here whenever you're ready. Later that afternoon, Emma found herself standing in front of his apartment again, her heart pounding in her chest. She had been here so many times before, but this time was different. This time, She wasn't sure if she was ready to face what was ahead. She rang the doorbell, and Liam opened the door almost immediately. He looked at her with a mixture of relief and concern in his eyes. Emma, I'm glad you came. He said, his voice soft but filled with emotion. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. I've been thinking a lot, Liam. She began, her voice trembling. And I think I'm ready to understand everything. I'm ready to hear the truth, the full truth, and make a choice. Liam stepped aside, allowing her to enter. He didn't speak right away, just gave her a small nod, as if he were waiting for her to continue. Emma sat down on the couch, her hands clasped together tightly in her lap. I want to know everything, Liam. She said, her voice steady but full of the vulnerability she had been hiding. I want to know what's been going on. I want to know if this is all real, if you're really being honest with me. There was a long pause, and Emma could see the internal struggle on Liam's face. But then, slowly, he sat down beside her, taking a deep breath. Emma, I never wanted you to be involved in this. I should have told you sooner, but I thought I could fix it without bringing you into the mess. The scandal is bigger than just a few bad decisions. It's about corporate corruption, and it's being investigated by the authorities. My company has been under scrutiny for months now. Emma listened intently, her heart pounding as she tried to absorb the information. But why didn't you tell me before? She asked quietly. Why keep it a secret? Liam looked at her, his eyes filled with regret. I didn't want you to think that I was like the people who've made those decisions. I wanted you to see me for who I am, not for the mistakes of my past. I've been working every day to fix it, to make things right. But I understand if you're angry, if you feel like I've lied to you. Emma sat there, processing everything he had said. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the regret in his voice. But she also knew that what he was involved in was serious, and it wasn't just something that could be swept under the rug. I'm not angry, she said softly, but I'm scared. I'm scared of getting involved in something that could destroy me too. I've spent my whole life just trying to stay afloat, trying to make sure I don't get hurt. And now I don't know if I can trust you, even though I want to. Liam reached out and took her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I understand, Emma. He said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm asking you to trust me, and I know that's not easy. But I promise you, I'm not the man I was before. I'm not going to let this ruin what we have. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right, for you and for me. Emma looked at him, the uncertainty still there, but something in his words gave her hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing: she had to follow her heart. I don't know what happens next. She said softly. But I'm willing to try. Liam's face broke into a smile, a look of relief washing over him. Thank you, Emma. That means everything to me. And in that moment, Emma knew that this was just the beginning. The road ahead would be hard, but together, maybe they could navigate it. They weren't perfect, but they were willing to try, and that was enough. As time passed, Emma and Liam found themselves navigating the complexities of their relationship. The trust they were building wasn't easy, and there were moments when doubts crept in. Emma still struggled with the fear that she might not be enough for him, that the weight of his past would eventually tear them apart. But with each passing day, she began to realize something important: love wasn't about perfection. It was about the willingness to face challenges together, to grow together, and to choose each other despite the odds. Liam worked tirelessly to clean up the mess his company had gotten into, and Emma stood by him, offering her support in her own quiet way. She wasn't a business expert, and she couldn't solve the corporate problems, but she could offer him a safe space, a reminder of what he was fighting for. She had always been the one to keep her head down, to struggle silently, but being with Liam had shown her that she didn't have to do it alone anymore. Slowly, Liam's company began to recover, the scandal that had once seemed insurmountable starting to fade into the past. Emma could see the relief on his face when he spoke about the progress. We're getting there, he would say, his eyes brighter with each small victory. But it wasn't just the business that was recovering, it was their relationship too. Emma had learned to trust him more each day, and in return, Liam had shown her that love wasn't about what you had, but about who you were with. One evening, after a particularly long day, Liam surprised Emma by taking her to a small park near the city. They sat on a bench, the sun beginning to set, casting a warm golden light over everything. Asterisk. I've been thinking, asterisk, Liam said, looking at her with a soft smile. Asterisk. We've been through so much together, and I'm grateful for you in ways I can't even explain. You've been my rock through all of this. I want you to know how much you mean to me. Asterisk. Emma turned to face him, her heart skipping a beat at the sincerity in his eyes. Asterisk. I feel the same way. Asterisk, she whispered. Asterisk. You've shown me what it means to trust, to really believe in someone. Asterisk. There was a brief pause, a moment of quiet, before Liam took her hand in his. Asterisk. I've been wanting to ask you something. Asterisk, he said, his voice a little more serious now. Emma looked at him, her heart racing. Asterisk. What is it? Asterisk. Liam smiled, a warmth in his eyes that made Emma's breath catch. Asterisk. Emma, will you marry me? Asterisk. The words hung in the air, and for a moment, everything around them seemed to stop. Emma's heart skipped a beat, her thoughts racing. She had never imagined this moment would come so soon, but as she looked at Liam, she knew that this was what she wanted. She wasn't afraid anymore. She wasn't scared of the challenges they would face, because she knew they could face them together. She had learned so much from him, and she had grown so much herself. Asterisk. Yes, asterisk, she said, her voice full of emotion. Asterisk. Yes, I will marry you. Asterisk. Liam's face broke into a wide smile, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if he never wanted to let go. The world around them seemed to melt away, leaving only the two of them in that moment of pure happiness. It wasn't a perfect story, but it was theirs. They had fought through doubts, fears, and uncertainties, but in the end, they had found something real, something worth fighting for. They knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they also knew that as long as they had each other, they could face anything. And so, with the promise of love and the knowledge that they were stronger together, they stepped into the future hand in hand, ready for whatever came next. The journey was far from over, but Emma no longer doubted that it was a journey worth taking.